Hello, and welcome to Season 3 of The Desk of a Navy Wife, where you may or may not hear my kiddos in the background. My name is Raina Worthy, and on this podcast, we like to talk about challenges, triumphs, and experiences with being a military spouse. So kick back, relax, make a cup of coffee, or get that evening dinner ready, and watch or listen to me in the background. Episode from the Desk of a Navy Wife. I'm your host, Raina Worthy. I'm super excited as I am joined today by Melissa Crook. She is the founder of the F.E.E.L Podcast, that's F-E.E.L, as well as the Embracing Layers Network. And she is going to share more about herself as well as what it is that she offers to the community.
Oh, Raina, I'm so happy to be here with you. And I'm going to introduce myself like I ask my guests to on my podcast by my character traits. And then I'll talk a little bit more about what I do. I am passionate, vocal, witty, and I am curious. And so that I like to do that because I think so many times as women, it's very easy to get tied up into our roles and titles.
Yeah.
And especially with military spouses, so many of you are flying solo a lot of the time. So it's very easy to be known as someone's partner, someone's mother, because you are on the front, literally life front lines of dealing with that stuff on a daily basis. And so knowing who you are within that and not losing sight of that can be really powerful in being able to stay in tune with who you are.
Yeah.
And so my passion is making sure women know their value, that they're filling their cups regularly, that they're not putting themselves last, they're actually putting themselves first, especially when you're flying solo a lot.
Yeah.
You've got to be operating from a filled cup or you're going to crash and burn. And no one around you wins either. They're getting a tattered, tired, wore out, partial version of who you are. And no one wants that. You don't want that. Your kids don't want that. Your coworkers, your family, your partner. I mean, your partner does not want to do a FaceTime home or a Zoom home and see you tattered and wore out. That was going to, that no one wins in this situation. And so everyone knowing that, hey, I'm prioritizing my wellness so I can show up as my most authentic self everybody benefits from that. And so on my network, I've got an online course where I can help you with that. And we can break each of these talking points down in this F.E.E.L framework that I started out by utilizing on my podcast and I've utilized in my own life and realized everyone wins when we ask ourselves these questions. It's a framework you have with you your whole life. It's 8 talking points and 3 key questions. And I wrote the online course. I am speaking to people about it in person. I am now offering one-on-one advising. You get a 30-minute free conversation and let's make a pathway for you to get what you need and how you can show up every day. Because when we're not accustomed to doing that, it takes time to unlearn and relearn new habits.
Very true.
Dispel old narratives that self-care is selfish, putting myself first is selfish, all this stuff that's not true, but that we've heard by well-meaning people along the way, some not so well-meaning. Some people like to keep power dynamics in place that allow them to be the loudest voice. And so us just really wait a minute, are these societal expectations I'm living out of or my own expectations? And so we, at the Embracing Layers Network, it is my passion that women know, and this can be utilized in workspaces too. I focus on women, that's my passion, but this is also something that really works well in community groups and workspaces to create healthy cultures for people to come together and prioritize their wellness. Because when you are in spaces where you feel seen, known, and heard, you will work hard, you will be loyal, you will really, really give it everything because you know you're valued there. And then also modeling that. I mean, there's so much power within it. So embracinglayers.com has all that information And then I get to feature these amazing women on my podcasts and my panels, and their resources are a great addition to what we offer. So if you've got some gaps in there on healthy boundaries or being able to get in touch with your mental, emotional, physical health, there's also guests on our platform that when you're asking yourself my questions in my network, I can grab and like, this might help you support you. So this week we're talking about boundaries. This resource here, I'm going to give you some working things to do to help you, but this might give you some additional support. So it just has created this great resource for women. And I really believe that every woman that comes to our network can find something that speaks to them in a way that they can receive and really follow.
So within your own personal journey, what led you to creating both the Layer Network and the F.E.E.L Podcast? Because you're talking about what it is that you offer and how you see things in the community, right? And how everything's kind of put on us with these layers and titles. But what truly inspired you for this journey?
It was my own crash and burn, me not doing these things. I mean, it was, and it was one of those things that I realized in fall of 2019, and a lot had been leading up to this moment. This was kind of the pivotal moment that forced me to really stop and take stock of how I was living my life. So fall of 2019, we've lived all over the country. My husband works in higher ed administration. So much like a lot of military families, we've moved a lot. We've moved 12 times in 32 years, which isn't as much as some of you all listening out there, but it is quite a bit. We've moved, we've lived in multiple states, we've owned multiple houses, we've changed schools, we've done all the things, changed jobs, all that. And this move was supposed to be the easy one. Our oldest had just gotten married. Our other two were in college. It was just my husband and I moving for the first time in a long time. And so it was like, oh, wow, we don't have to worry about school districts and activities and, whatever. We get there and 10 days into it, I come back from a workout and I can't get my blood pressure. I'm lightheaded and my heart's racing and I can't get things to settle.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm feeling like I've never felt like this before. And I'm like, am I having a heart attack? What is happening
What's
here?
happening?
So we were still in the hotel. We hadn't closed on our house yet. My husband was at work. I was, we just gotten there. So I was going back and forth between New York, where our stuff was, and Lubbock, Texas, where we were moving to. Still working on logistics. Wasn't going to be starting my job until the new year. And I go down to the lobby. I'm like, I might need an ambulance. I think I'm having a heart attack. Well, it was a poor college kid working in the front desk, and he was just turned 3 sheets of white. And I'm sitting up trying to comfort him because he's trying to figure out what to do. He's like, you have to sign.
Panic mode.
He's panicking because there's things I have to sign to have the ambulance, and I won't hold the hotel accountable, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let me just text my husband. He's 3 minutes away. I think it'll be quicker to do that. So I do that. He has to ask his office where the ER is. We don't even know. We just got there. And he gets in and he zips me over there. And after they get me right in because they take my, and I, went through all that and everything looks fine on the EKG and the ECG and everything kind of settled after 4 hours. And they're like, you've just moved. I'm like, this is not about the move. New. I'm like, this is not about the move. I know how to move. I mean, my oldest daughter's like, you're like moving is like your Olympics, mom. Like and I'm sure there's many partners out here that can relate to that.
Do that. Yeah. They know when to start packing and everything, right?
Who to call, how to negotiate with the movers. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. Got it down. I'm like, this is not about the move. And I had over the previous 3 years, I had started sensing in my body, I should be happier than I am or more content. Like when you look at my life on paper, I should not feel this sense of anxiousness all the time. I'm always up here. My hypervigilance and alertness and anxiety levels are riding high all the time. And my life is not, your life was life. We have challenges. I'm sure you know what it's like to move and a house won't sell. So you're got 2 mortgages or rents or whatever that you're balancing. That's life stuff. Kids get married. But nothing like it's life. Exactly. But I knew there was something simmering within me and I was in perimenopause, and that, of course, brings up a lot of health things as well. But I'm like, this is deeper than that. I just can't put my finger on it. Yeah. And so 10 days later, I'm back at the ER again, same symptoms, but an additional I was in the house. Our furniture hadn't come yet, but I'd made a Target run and I was walking into the master bathroom to unload the sacks and everything starts up again. And my bladder just dumps. And also that's I'm like, what in the world? So I call my husband and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's happening again. And I've got a new symptom. So I don't know what the heck's going on.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So get back to the ER. They test every organ. They look at everything. And they're like, after 3 or 4 hours again, like physically you're fine. But, you might want to get in and talk to a doctor about hormones and things because your age. I'm like, well, yeah, I know I'm perimenopausal and I know I've got some things going on here and there. And I thought I'd address them, but maybe not.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but my husband looked at me and he's like, honey, I've watched you walk around with your partner anxiety our whole life together. And I think it's time to have a serious conversation and get to know the root of her and where she's coming from and what this all. And I'm like, I'm not anxious. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's just a lot going on in the world. I just take care of everybody. I'm not anxious. And,
Yeah.
and he's like, and then I'm realizing that I'm listening to myself and realizing I've just been to the ER twice in the last 10 days. In the first 2 weeks of our new move here,
Your
I
new
probably
move.
don't
Yes.
have a leg to stand on in terms of, I should probably have a conversation with somebody. And I got into that person the next week and he started asking questions like deep, like, how do you process your emotions? What do you do for your mental health? Yes,
Yeah.
you move your body for your physical health. And yes, we've got some hormonal things going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about that and we can address that and we can talk about some supplements and food and lifestyle changes. But what are the emotional and mental things ringing within you? Because physical manifestations and those things are very tightly connected. And you won't hear that a lot at your traditional Western medicine doctor, but
Right.
I'm here to tell you, he was a holistic practitioner, that they're all connected. And my husband was sitting there nodding his head vigorously because we'd already had you need to talk to somebody conversation. So I started, interviewing therapists. I called it speed dating therapist and started trying to find that one because it's very important to find someone you trust and connect with. I had been through therapy a couple times before in my life and had made progress, but I'd never really unlocked the key to that deeper space of trauma and just stuffed emotions that I'd been carrying around, and they were fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were overflowing and screaming for attention. And so many times, and I did this for years too, we look at our bodies as being against this. They're actually for us. They are screaming. She's screaming for attention. She's trying to let you know she needs addressing, that she needs help. And we look at our emotions as good or bad. I do not do that. Emotions are clues. They're not negative or positive, good or bad. There are harder ones and easier ones to process and feel, but they are clues. And so being able to look at them from that standpoint and a great therapist that I trusted who helped me kind of unlock the door to these places, that was the beginning of realizing, wait a minute. I don't have to live like this.
Yeah, right.
And no one has to live like this. And we don't have to crash and burn. I was like, too many of us are going through this.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary. And it's based on a lot of old tired narratives that we start getting when we're little kids about how we're supposed to show up in the world. What's appropriate? What's not appropriate?
Right.
What kind of emotions the adults in our lives can handle in us? What ones they don't want to see from us? I grew up, in a generation where, what are you crying about? You had to have you're 6 years old. Yeah, a reason
to cry.
Yeah, or dry it up. Because it's uncomfortable for them. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with their own emotions, let alone yours.
Yeah.
And so you learn from a very early age to start stuffing emotions that make other people uncomfortable. And then if you have any traumas mixed in, and so there was a lot packed into that, but it was just that realization that I had been stuffing and not processing and not moving through and carrying all this stuff. At that point, I was 50. It's been 6 years since I started this process, and it just opened the door. And you just learn that it's really important to address these things. Found a framework through practice, through learning from things my daughters were going through, learning things my husband was going through in his therapy, a mentee that I was mentoring. There was this collection of questions through learning from all these different people and experiences they were having. So it was just this invitation to open up and see what was possible, that I could shift the narrative in my own head. But it required being in safe spaces where my nervous system felt safe, where I could open up and give these things room to breathe that I've been carrying around all these
Mhm.
years. And as I started processing and releasing things, all these symptoms I was having in my body started subsiding and started releasing. And I felt physically lighter.
Yeah.
And I was like, hold on a minute. Over time, I discovered, along with these key people in my family, there's a framework here that if we can learn to ask ourselves these questions when we
Yeah.
start feeling out of sync, we can get ourselves back on track. We don't have to hit a wall and
Yeah.
burn out. And we can unlearn these harmful narratives that are getting in the way of us living our healthiest, most authentic lives. First for ourselves because we're worth it, and then for all the people around us. But the layers piece, it required me to start pulling back the layers of my life
Mhm.
and moving through the things that I had stuffed and allowing those layers to breathe and embracing those layers. Because what we tend to do as humans, as women, is we stuff the uncomfortable things, whether it's
Yeah.
embarrassment, shame, fear. We just want to move on. And I'm like, you cannot healthily move on until you've given that room to breathe and be acknowledged and processed. And
Yeah.
some take more than others, but you can't stuff them. We're not meant to carry them. And so,
You're like learning
oh,
from so much to unpack that you may not have even noticed you were still holding on to that you had to dig into.
yes, it allowed me to mourn things I'd never mourned because I think we have a misunderstanding so many times of anxiety. I thought I was going to go to therapy and get rid of anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my therapist was like, no, no, no.
That's not how it
Anxiety
works.
is a necessary part of your makeup to let you know when you are in trouble.
Mm.
The anxiety that operates within you needs to be adjusted. It
Mhm.
needs to realize, it needs to unlearn and relearn. It needs to be recalibrated so that you're not in this constant hypervigilant mode,
Yeah.
fighting everything off to protect your people all the time and yourself. Just like that for me at first was a shock and also a disappointment. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. It
Because
doesn't go away. Yeah, no.
yeah,
It's like trigger
I,
moment is what
yes,
and your body's telling you, hey, this is
right.
the moment where I don't feel safe. And you
Yes.
go on.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
knowing what to do with that in a healthy way. So your relationship with anxiety is going to change,
Mm.
but you don't want it to go away. And you'll get there in understanding why that's necessary.
So with you sharing your story and your mental health journey and even different things that you had to unpack, right? And different triggers and trauma and all of that. What personal challenges have you faced within that journey that shaped your mission today?
Oh gosh. The first challenge was just realizing that we have to take time. We live in
Mhm.
such a everything
Yeah.
fast food,
Right
whatever
here, right now.
society. Right here, right now, we want immediate results with minimal time.
Yeah.
And I had to accept that I'm going to get here and I'm going to be well, never have these things happening. No, that's just not
Yeah.
how life works. So I'm going to have resources and a framework that get me through it and allow me to process and move through these hard things in a healthy way. But it's
Mhm.
always going to be part of my journey.
Right.
It's how I navigate the journey with these resources is where the difference lies. And so I was like, and so as these things would come, difficult conversations, I would like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to exercise healthy boundaries and
Mhm.
step away when I'm feeling too emotional charged. And rather than having a really inflated, highly emotional conversation that with no like ability to settle
Mhm.
and think through things clearly, I need to step away. I need some
Yeah.
minutes to process that we can come back and revisit this later. So learning to have those conversations with those and stating those things out front, learning how to listen well and not just listen to answer, knowing that if I don't put myself first in all of this, I have to understand that I'm worthy and valuable of this, and looking at my calendar and making myself a priority in my
Yeah.
calendar and not allowing myself to get kicked to the curb. And I realized we have to start having conversations about this as women.
Yeah.
We are all living with this kind of silently, but we're not talking about it. And we're not talking about the things that feed into us getting to this point.
Right.
Whether it is, you know, our hormonal changes, our periods, divorces, deaths, moving, kids being born, miscarriages,
Yeah.
kids moving away, all the things that happen in life. If you don't have the seasons that change, the titles, the roles, the lost jobs,
Yeah.
whatever it is, if we don't have a network of people to support us and a framework to look to help us navigate these things, we're going to continually make the same mistakes over again.
Ye
But it was that realization for me that this was a journey and not an end point, because they're wonderful conversations, life changing, life giving, but also heavy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can feel it in your bones when you get off a few of these recordings
Oh,
and you're like,
yeah.
woo,
It
okay,
was a lot. Yeah, for
mommy
sure.
needs a break.
Yeah.
I got to go, for a walk, get a drink of water, take a nap. I don't know. And so started looking at it that way.
Mhm.
That has really been helpful too. But yeah, the hardest thing was accepting this is a journey. Things are going to trigger you, that you're
Yeah.
going to have to go back and be like, oh, no, that's that old voice, that old narrative.
Yeah.
This is what's real. This is what's true. A practice I did for a long time is I would each day in my morning journal name all of my emotions that I was feeling that day to make
Yeah.
sure I wasn't stuffing anything. I find now that because of that awareness and
Mhm.
practice over time, I don't necessarily have to do that every day. I'm more cognitively aware, but there are
Mhm.
days when things are heavy and hard. I'm like, I need to sit down and start
Yeah,
naming
where's that
these
coming
things.
from? Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're checking it. I like that you're doing like a check-in with yourself. And it's the
Mhm.
beginning of the day. Do you do it at the end of the day as well?
It depends on the day. I
It depends.
sometimes will do
Okay.
it beginning, middle. It's very fluid, like because I was so disconnected
Yeah.
from what my body was telling me. I was so disassociated. I lived so disassociated, and so many of us do. My body was sending me the alarm bells. I just wasn't in tune to that.
Yeah, like you said, it's a journey and it's not going to be easy at all or 180
Right.
complete turnaround.
Yeah.
It's different things that you'll have to approach. I know for me, sometimes like today, my eye was twitching, right? And I said,
Yeah.
well, I will be taking a break over the rest of the week and the weekend. I'll be rescheduling some things. But again, like you said, any other time you're just like, oh, my eye's twitching. I don't know why my eye's twitching. Maybe it's caffeine. Maybe it's this. Maybe you're overloaded because there's a million things you have to
Yeah.
think about.
And I've been looking at a screen because I've been doing a bazillion of these interviews.
It's a million things.
Yes.
So for you in your journey, who has been your biggest influence in staying grounded while building your platform?
Oh gosh, my husband's a big, huge support to me. I have been able to create, this was such an unexpected thing. You just never know when you go on these journeys.
Yeah.
I've been able to create this network of women around me that have become my go-to people. I've got about 10 to 15 of them
Yeah.
that I've met. They were originally guests and panelists on my show in different ways, and they have become my people.
Mm-hmm.
And we support each other and we text each other and we get on panel shows, and we had a great Come As You Are. And, some of those women that are kind of, I've become my new ride or die,
Yeah,
so to
yeah.
speak. We're on there. How are we doing, ladies? Where are we today? And,
Yeah.
one of my friends on there came, she's like, I've had a crappy day. I've been in a bad mood all day, but I knew if I came here that
Mm.
this would support me and this would help me. So that network of women, I was expecting it to be the listeners, and there's definitely like a tone of that
Right.
happens. But these friends that I have met and created in this network of women where we just show up, we try things together, we laugh, we cry,
Yeah.
was such an unexpected gift that has come out, and they really remind me of, because we're in kind of a transition mode right now in
Yeah.
the network, and where we're had this panel and this podcast to being where Melissa's a thought leader and she's got this framework and she wants to share it with women and she
Right.
wants to speak to you about it and all these different things. And so as you're transitioning from a passion project to a business that you're
Yeah.
so passionate about, there's a lot
That's
of
a
adjustment.
transition.
It is.
Oh, yeah. You
And
start thinking like a business owner.
yes, and I have been really like struggling with that
Mhm.
transition, and also the competitive part of me is like, why isn't everybody buying all these things yet?
Yeah.
So it's like everybody, like just like slowing down
Yeah.
and unpacking the truth. So reminding me of the journey. And so those people, I have 3 beautiful daughters that are an important part of my life that actually really inspire me. They have gone on these journeys on their own, and they have realized, they've learned from the things I didn't do so well, and also the things that have served me, and they've taken and gone on their own journeys and asked themselves, their own questions. And I was able to last week, 2 of the 3 of them, and then
Mm-hmm.
my son-in-law were able to join my husband and I on a fun family trip. And I just kind of put everything else aside and really focused on being present with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something, 6 or 7 years ago, even 4 or 5 years ago when I was in process, I would have really struggled not being on my phone, checking my
Yeah.
work, checking the episode drops, and being kind of distracted. And I just made it, I'm like, it's all going to be there when I get home.
Yeah.
This is a 3-day
It'll be
trip.
there.
I've got a great team that's making things flow. I can catch up. I can promote things later. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be really present with my people and really enjoy this family time and this pivotal moment. And so being able to do that,
Yeah.
but having that note, it is so important who you surround yourself with. Because in this process, I will
Mm-hmm.
tell you, I've had to create healthy boundaries and spaces and places with relationships that have created some loving people from afar.
Right.
Because of
It's a
what
lot.
yes, the impact that those relationships and how they wanted to interact
Yeah.
was having on my nervous system, was having on my health.
Yeah.
And I had sacrificed that for years to continue the relationships, and realizing those relationships functioning in that way
Mm-hmm.
were not serving me health wise, and that you can't make people change, and you
Very,
can't
very
make
true.
people do the things you can say it till the cows come home.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't see it and they don't want to go on that road with you, you cannot make them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that requires you to make some difficult decisions in regards to relationships.
I'm glad you said that. It's very important. I think women and just people in general, but also in the military spouse world, it is that. It's very much, hey, it's okay to disconnect, or what is it? No longer being around those that no longer serve you, or they're not on that same path or journey. And it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not going to be easy at all. But I went through something similar as far as practicing okay, if I can't control it, whether it's a
Right.
situation, circumstance, or a person's actions,
Hmm.
then I need to, remove myself. I can't get overly stressed about it, or, try to fix it, because I'm very much a solver. I love to solve
Hmm.
problems. Okay.
Hmm.
And then I had to learn, and my husband had to tell me many times, love, you can't solve everyone's problems. Okay. I
Yeah.
know you want to save the world, but you can't save everyone's problems. And does come to the point where you'll have to remove yourself from that person's
Hmm.
life, especially if it's negativity or something that they're complaining or venting, and it's something they keep doing over and over and over and over and over again. Then it's like,
Right.
well, I've said my piece, right? I'm not going
Yeah.
to continue to repeat myself. You don't really want my advice at this point, because you're not
Mhm.
taking it when you ask for it.
Yeah.
So,
You just want to emotionally dump,
yes,
but not do anything about it.
yes,
And it's like, okay, I've been hearing about this for whatever, 5 months, 6 months, 5 years, whatever. I've given my thoughts on that.
yeah,
I don't want to hear about it anymore. You either
right.
going to do something different, or we're not having this
No, we're not
conversation.
having yeah, don't talk to me about it. Talk to somebody
Yeah.
else.
No, I know. And I think it's also too, it's okay. Not all relationships are for life. Some relationships for a season.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean anybody's bad or good. We try to moralize and vilify things. Oh, they're bad, they're good. That's wrong, that's right.
right.
Sometimes you just move in different directions.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean that there wasn't a time for them and that wasn't valuable at the time. And it's also okay if things change. And no, it doesn't have to be a big blowout. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Like I said, doesn't need to be any pointing fingers or they're bad.
right.
Sometimes it just has a season, and it's
Yeah,
okay to release that and still, still be kind if you come into contact or whatever. But listening, I go back to this all the time. Your body will tell you. She will let you know if things are feeling a little angsty or off
yeah,
kilter or not. Pay attention to those clues. They're there to serve you. And so many times we get so caught up in what we think we should do, or we've been
yeah,
told we should do, or what the
yeah.
right thing to do is, that we ignore these things that are telling us what's right for you, what's healthy for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be in conflict with some of those messages you've heard. And that's
Oh,
where
for sure.
my network comes in to really my framework of those 8 points and 3 key questions that when you're feeling a little angsty, start asking yourself these things. Start taking stock, do an inventory, and see what you come up with. I mean, if you're looking at your calendar every day and you want to throw up, that's a problem.
You're stressed, but you're adding more onto your plate.
Yes. Yeah.
And
There's
your
things
plate
on,
is literally full. So,
yeah, there's things on there that are not in alignment and that
Yeah.
are not for you. And, and so there's a lot of power in learning to say no. Whatever you say yes to, you're saying no to something else.
Yeah.
Make sure you're okay with that thing you're saying no to.
Yeah.
And it cannot continually be saying no to yourself. Requires me to abandon myself.
Yeah.
It's a no. It's a no.
It's a no. I'm
And
done. Yeah.
yeah, my friend Deanne Wells, she was a guest a couple of years ago, said she always takes 24 hours minimum to give an answer if someone asks her to do something.
Ah.
She's like, I've got a 24-hour rule. I do not give an answer on the spot because
Okay.
my heart in me would be like, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. Not every good thing is for you in that time.
Yeah. Check your calendar. Like, hey, check my calendar.
Let me go home and check my calendar. Let me talk to my partner.
Let me talk to my
look
spouse.
at my work schedule. Let me look at the kids' schedule. Let me look and make sure there's room for me.
Yes.
Because so many times we will move what we need aside to make that thing fit into our calendar. If that requires me to give up that time or that space or that bandwidth where I'm not getting a consistent refill, it has to be a no.
Yeah, it has to be, and you have to be okay with saying it. And I talk about that quite a bit on the podcast, and many guests as well. Same thing. Be okay with saying no. No is just, that's it. No is no, and
no, period.
That's it.
It's a sentence. It's a full sentence. But that 24 hours and that, if I say yes to this, I'm saying no to this. How does that feel? And that additional piece of this, if this requires me to abandon myself in any way, then it's got to be a no.
It's a whole balancing act all over again. How can women begin to embrace the layers of their life, even when some of those layers feel heavy or complicated?
Yeah. So when I'm working with, I go in a different order on the podcast than I do when I'm in the online course and when I'm speaking or working with you one-on-one. We start with the layers piece because if you will not prioritize what you don't value.
Yeah.
So it has to start with the layers piece and valuing you and embracing and accepting. You don't have to love all your layers, but it's that acknowledgement and curiosity versus judgment piece. And so starting with that piece, and I say in the online course, this online course is an hour and 50 minutes long. I do not want you to go through it in an hour and 50 minutes. I want you to take days, weeks, maybe months, because each of these segments is going to require some time within that piece of it. So we start with the layers. We start with asking, and then, we ask ourselves some key questions. What are 5 activities that nourish me? And that can serve as, okay, are those in my life? Am I utilizing any of these to fill my cup right now? What are the character traits I would use? I did this at the beginning purposefully. How would I describe myself? Not your roles, not your titles, not what your sister or your neighbor or your daughter or your mother or your partner thinks. How would you describe yourself?
Yeah.
Getting back home to you. And so many times I get blank. I'm like, sit with it. It might
because it's
take
like
a
good
moment.
question.
Yeah, but I want you to come up with the answers for you.
Yeah.
So how would I describe myself? It allows you to get grounded in who you are. And then what are 5 words that I want to feel in the next 6 months? 5 ways, 5 words that describe how I want to feel in the next 6 months. What are those 5 words? Okay, how do these activities that nourish me? How does my ability to value and embrace my layers with curiosity? How does these character traits, how do they feed into that? And these 5 words, are they from me or are they from outdoor societal expectations? Are they aligned with me? Because once you know who you are and your layers and what makes you up and the things that fill your cup, then you're able to oh, these are my values. Oh, this is where I need some healthy boundaries.
Right.
These are the activities for my self-care that are really going to fill my soul. And those aren't all things. One of my things that fills my cup is travel. I don't travel every day all the time. These are always going to be things that are in every week. But something that another value of mine is movement. I move my body every day. So I love the ocean. I love the mountains. So am I making space to get into those spaces and places?
That's a thought.
And so these are the things you start there, and then it allows you to go into, okay, what emotions am I moving through processing and what am I stuffing? And
Mm-hmm.
those key things I just started with open the door. They open the door to curiosity, to
Mm-hmm.
exploration, and it requires time to sit with yourself on that. But then you're able to like, oh, okay. So I've done these things to fill my cup of my self-care today. I've set these healthy boundaries based on these values that I know that
Mm-hmm.
I have, and I've communicated them because so many times we have these values, we set these healthy boundaries in our heads, but then we have these expectations of how it's supposed to go. Well, we
Yeah.
haven't communicated it to
Yeah.
everybody because we think everybody is a mind reader. Like, can't they look at me and tell that's what I want?
Right.
Nope.
Tell I'm tired or tell that I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's like you got to tell people.
There's no x-ray vision going on here. No one
Yeah.
can see through you. No one can see into your head. None of that. So it's that communicating, and that can be hard when people are used to you showing up in a certain way
Yeah.
and you're shifting that. You find out real quick who's really authentically for you and who was just in it to see for the benefits they could get from you. And that can be
Right.
really difficult, but it also helps you to go back to that relationship piece and
Right.
make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that are authentically
Yeah,
for you.
authentically. Yeah, they love you. They understand. You made me think of I recently had a conversation with one of my really great friends. I've known her since middle school. Okay,
Mhm.
and we're closer
Yeah.
state wise, but we used to talk all the time
Mhm.
over the weekend where we'll catch up and check in on each other and everything. And so I had to recently like have an actual conversation with her because I'm like, I love our conversations. I know we don't get to catch up as often as we used to. In full transparency, the next 3 months for me are chaotic, and I cannot be able to actually tune into the conversations that we would typically have, right?
Sure.
And
Sure.
it was interesting because I didn't have that feeling like she was going to be mad or upset. And she wasn't. She was like, okay, we'll pick up in January or whatever. But again, it's
Right.
listening to you, being true to yourself. Can you cut out the time to have a
Mhm.
conversation and catch up with a friend? Because sometimes you can't, even if you want
Yeah.
to.
Right.
It's just so much going on. And then mentally, it's just so much going on,
Mhm.
with whether it's PCSing or orders or moving or roofs or it's so much. And it's like
Mhm.
having that time to talk to yourself first and then say, hey, I know I can't be the person I would like to be when I'm talking to you. Therefore, we're
Mhm.
going to have to reschedule. And it's just going to be in 3
Yeah.
months or so, minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that be that. So I'm glad that you said, you're embracing your layers, you're getting back to you and making sure you check in with yourself in all of this.
Yeah.
So what's one mindset shift that has made the biggest difference for you and could help other women?
Oh gosh, I'm going to go back to that curiosity piece.
Curiosity. Okay. That's
Anytime
our word today.
curiosity, anytime I feel myself being, well, you can't do that, or why
Yeah.
are you doing that, or you can't do that first. You got to do these other things. I'm like, wait a minute, where's that coming from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a voice from the past? Is that a voice from my narrative, or do I need to like shift today?
Yeah.
And reprioritize because this truly does require that kind of attention. Curiosity rather than just rushing into things or being judgmental about things. We hear a statement from somebody we don't know
Yeah.
and we make a decision about who they are as a person.
Based on that.
So that whenever I feel myself getting judgmental,
Yeah.
I get curious.
Mhm.
And that really applies to me first. But curiosity, I think, because curiosity will not allow you to stay comfortable. And I don't mean comfortable in the sense of I've got a roof over my head and air conditioning
Yeah.
and the heat and all those things. I'm talking about comfort in, that might require me to make some shifts that require me to have some conversations that
Yeah.
require me to maybe not have these relationships that I know really aren't serving me, but I'm afraid of the fallout and I'm afraid I'll be alone. I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And curiosity is like, I'm going to bet on myself and do it anyway.
Yeah.
And trust these instincts and these inner things. The curiosity keeps you from getting comfortable and not actually living as your healthiest, most authentic self.
I like it. Curiosity. I will definitely I'll be putting that word in the show notes alone, like curiosity. Everyone
Yep.
go be curious this week.
Yeah. You'll be surprised what comes up. I do this because I need it.
Yeah.
I can snap. I am very opinionated, very passionate about the things I believe in.
Yeah.
And I can snap to judgment just like that.
Yeah.
But what I found is I was doing it to myself as harshly as I was
And
doing
to other people.
Exactly. And so that was what was keeping me in these shames pieces and not acknowledging and processing things.
My final question for you, aside from curiosity, if our listeners walk away remembering just one thing from you today, what do you hope it is?
You are worth investing in. You are worth it. Do not ever question. You are worth the investment. So whatever you need, so if you find that my platform and my resources support you, invest in that. Raina has great resources. Invest in that. But you are worth ever. You'll spend thousands of dollars to make sure your kid can play club volleyball, but you won't spend $200 to $400 on a resource that will really support you.
Right.
You are worth, and how are you going to be showing up to those club volleyball tournaments anyway if you haven't taken time to invest in yourself?
Right.
I mean, so you are, and I'm using my own, that was my life. You are worth investing in. Don't ever question that. And don't ever believe the lie that you've got to put yourself last and everyone else first. You are first every day because then you get to show up in the way that you want people to remember you as vibrant and healthy and fulfilled. But yeah, you are worth investing in.
Yes. Thank you so much, Melissa. I really do appreciate that. And I'm walking away with, hey, you're investing in yourself. That's very, very important because as you stated earlier in this recording, we're so many things to so many people, so many labels, so many titles that are given to us. And so you have definitely unpacked some layers and have pushed these spouses, the military spouses, to embrace those layers, but always remember that they need to get to themselves and the root of it before they can get there. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you, Raina, so much for this conversation. What you're doing is so important for these military spouses. I have friends that have traveled this world and been in the military. And man, I mean, having a resource like you, they would have loved that. So thank you for what you're doing. This is so important.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. The goal is to get as much information, resources, and conversations out there as possible.
Yes, absolutely. People are not alone in these things
At all.
Thank you again for tuning in this week. I look forward to bringing you resources, support, and laughter. Sending my love from the desk of a Navy wife.